Hey, it's Matt from MatthewGronsky.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. What is the easiest way to create your own virtual choir video? The bottom line is, there is no easy way to create your own virtual choir video. However, there's several things that you can do that will make this whole process a lot easier. Now, before I get into some of those tips, I just have to air out some frustrations. Can I do that for a second? It is frustrating for us as music teachers to be thrown into this awkward position where we are expected to create a virtual performance. Now, that's frustrating on a lot of different levels. Number one is probably your typical administrator has no idea the hours and hours that go into recording, preparing, editing, the audio and video that go into creating any kind of virtual performance. And on the other hand, this is another point for, I happen to be a choir director, but if you're a band director or orchestra director or choir director watching, I think we all know that any virtual ensemble performance should never be expected to take the place of a live ensemble performance. And so we're kind of put in this awkward situation. And I just want to throw that out there that I 100% sympathize with those of you who may be watching this video. And I hope some of these tips and tools might help you in maybe alleviating some of that stress and at least making this whole process a little bit easier. Speaking of easy, let me show you first the hard way, okay? Now, recently I was asked to create a virtual performance of the Star Spangled Banner for the middle school moving up ceremony. I teach a middle school course and a high school choir. Anyway, I thankfully had an arrangement already made, a three-part mixed middle school arrangement of the Star Spangled Banner. What I did is I recorded myself. I recorded my own parts, and I did it the harder way. There are some perks to this. I recorded it in Logic, and just to show you my screen, this is the accompaniment track up here that I put in my session, and these are actually all of the audio files from my students that I collected here. And to be clear, there were several audio submissions that I could not accept for a lot of different reasons. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't realize is you get all these audio submissions, and sometimes the audio is unusable. Maybe students forgot to use headphones, there's bleeding going on, or maybe the performance is not accurate enough. These are just practical limitations that, again, just add to this frustrating process. So anyway, what I did is I created this accompaniment track, and let me just actually play some of it so you can just hear it a little bit. And that's just the accompaniment track. Now you kind of get the idea of that. And here it is with all of the vocals. Just play it from here.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what's so proud?
Now, the amount of work that went into lining up all these individual audio files and making sure that they're all lined up, even down to the right consonant, it was a time-consuming endeavor. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you a tool that, at least in my experience in looking up other virtual choir tutorial videos, I haven't seen anyone mention this approach, and I really hope that there's other music teachers out there that can benefit from this approach. Now, I recorded this. Your typical virtual choir video is going to consist of two parts. You have your audio portion and your video portion. What I did is I took my this accompaniment track and I uploaded it to Google Drive to share with my students. Now, this is a different approach than the one I'm going to show you, because the approach that I just did, I realized is probably a little bit more difficult. There are some positives to it, but I think the one I'm going to show you in this video is going to be a lot easier. So anyway, I used my own accompaniment track, and actually I took another step that you can do yourself, but this took some work. Let me just show you. I actually created a playback video. So it wasn't just Typically if my choir is going to learn, any kind of musical performance and there's a limited time, I might record, a rehearsal track for them. Well, this is a rehearsal video that I created with the playback of their music right there, because my students, we basically, the time frame of this is I needed my students, because my administrator didn't realize that the deadline was sooner, or at least I didn't inform me how soon the deadline was. Bottom line is I had to give this music to my students and get it back from them in basically 1 week's time. And I was stressing out, what is the fastest way that I can do this? And I ended up creating this video playback so that they can learn their parts. So let me just play you a little bit of this. Oh, say, see by the dawn's early light, what so proud. So this is basically me singing back that part. I lined up the video to it, and I created this, nice looking video that the students can watch. And again, this was just an endeavor to save time on the students' end. Odds are if you're watching this video as a music teacher, you're trying to save time on your end. And let me just show you, this is, I think probably one of the best approaches that you can take to this is actually, if let's say you have zero experience with, or little experience with, your typical DAW, meaning digital audio workstation, whether that be GarageBand, Logic, Pro Tools, or whatever, Cubase, whatever kind of DAW you're using. I would strongly recommend that you use, and let me just pull it up here on my screen. I would strongly recommend that you use Soundtrap. Now, if you've never heard, soundtrap.com is basically, it's like Google Docs for sound production. And the thing that you can do, and I strongly advise you, if you're watching this, maybe you can take the steps that I did, which is to create your own rehearsal track or rehearsal video, which is a little bit more complicated. You can do all of that, but when you're recording the audio, if I just show you what I had to do in Logic, and this took quite some time, is all of these different audio files that were sent in by my students, I had to line them up so that they were all exactly lined up with the accompaniment track. And that took quite some time. If you have 20, 30, 40, 50 students submitting this can really, really become time consuming. So what I really like about this using soundtrap.com, one, it's free, okay? There's a perk there. And two, it is completely hosted online on soundtrap.com. So that means students don't need to send you their files. What I had to do is I uploaded my the video rehearsal tracks to my students. They were able to watch it, and then they recorded themselves singing, singing their individual part while following my rehearsal video, and then they also sent a video of themselves performing. Now that's all well and good, but that takes time, not just for them to upload it, but then for me to download it and then to line up all these audio files, which I just showed you. Now, here's the cool thing about Soundtrap. Soundtrap.com allows you to, this is that same accompaniment, right? If I could just hit play here, right? So I have that accompaniment already loaded here. If you're wondering how can you load that in, these three dots here, if you just click on it, you can click on import. And then you can choose, any kind of any kind of file that you have on your computer to import it into your session. And just for anyone wondering out there, I was curious, how many tracks can Soundtrap actually handle? And I just kept adding, and there's actually more than 40 tracks right now here in Soundtrap, and this is just the completely free version. There are some you can upgrade here, but it's going to bring you to, it's basically going to give you more options for adding in loops and different types of beats. But this is just a completely free version. And here's the cool thing about Soundtrap, all right? So let's say you have your accompaniment track added in here. The next step is you're going to click right here, and you're going to invite other students, okay? And you can enter in their email to invite them to this recording session. Now, here is the coolest part of this approach to recording a virtual ensemble or virtual choir. you can add students just like you would add them to a Google Doc. Like if you were sharing some kind of a Google Doc, they get access to this recording session, and then they can record it right there on their computer, right there in this soundtrap.com. They don't have to download anything. All they have to do is basically sign up for Soundtrap, and they can record their own part. And the cool thing is it's instantly lined up as long as they're performing it correctly with the accompaniment track. They're instantly going to be able to record themselves, and then you don't need you don't need to line up all the audio for however many dozens and dozens of performers or however many performers you may have. It's already lined up in the soundtrap.com session. And this is just a great approach to take because, again, it's going to save you time in having to line up all those different audio files. Now, the last end, just to show you a little bit more in Soundtrap, some other things that I would probably do if I did this again is, so I would label these tracks. So just so it's very clear what your students are doing, this is instrumental, right? You can even label it as, give track names, all right, let's say Ashley is singing the soprano part, right? And then when they come into the session, they see where they can record. All they have to do is hit R, and they're ready to record on their part. So this is a really, really cool, cool approach. Now, what I would also recommend, you don't have to do this, but I'd probably recommend making some kind of a basic tutorial video just to show your students how they can actually record their part. But again, this is a great time saver using soundtrap.com. Now, on the other end, what about the video side to it? Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video about some video approaches. What I did is I actually put this all together in Final Cut. And again, I had to download all the video files and put them all together and arrange them so that they were all fitting, on the video screen. My recommendation, and this is an unpopular one, but it's just an idea. If you are having a virtual performance and it is, you're limited on time, what I would recommend is that you actually don't have students submit their videos. And I know that's unpopular, but what I'd probably recommend, it would save a massive amount of time, especially because the video editing can sometimes be a lot longer than the audio editing. I would recommend maybe using some kind of a backdrop, or maybe you have a class picture. Or a class, maybe you have just a standard video of a past concert. Guess what? Mute the audio on the video and put this recording right over it. And it would look like you guys are actually like performing in your regular performance space. Or you can just have any other kind of blank picture, your school picture, or any other kind of picture or video as your background. And that would save a tremendous amount of time because we're not hired to be audio and video professionals. We are music professionals, music teachers. I just hope that some of these approaches are helpful or useful for you. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to comment below. But before you do, I also want to mention one other thing. There's a free webinar that I actually have on my website. You could sign up for it and get a link to watching this free webinar that covers topics very similar to this. And also, if you are looking at expanding your knowledge of how to use these resources, I actually have a full music tech mastery course. It's an online course that's available also on my website. I have several students who are actually currently taking this class, and I think there's a lot of value for us as music teachers trying to deal with this whole strange online learning phase, which might last for quite some time, and if you want to get a better understanding of how to use tools like this, and how to create digital resources for your classroom. Maybe you like the video that I showed you of that video, playback. That's a rehearsal track. We go into detail of how to create your own rehearsal videos or your own rehearsal tracks. There's a lot of information in that music tech mastery course. And again, check out that free webinar also if you're interested. And I hope that this was helpful. If you want to, again, comment below or like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out.